Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to paint a scene in gouache based on a reference photo that I took on my recent trip to Cape Town. I'm going to show you how to creatively interpret the reference photo, not creating an identical copy of the photo, but creatively in translating it, interpreting it according to our own style, and emphasizing the lighting, making the lighting a bit more interesting and dynamic and bright. And yeah, so the supplies I'm using is my regular Hahnemuhle 300 GSM watercolor sketchbook. I'm using gouache paint from my local supplier Prime Art and some Daniel Smith colors, and the brush I'm starting with is a flat brush and a flat brush 8 from my own brush line. The first thing before painting was I drew some thumbnails to better understand the reference. The real-time process video for this painting is available as a tutorial on my website, and that's where you can learn how to draw the thumbnails that you see above on the page. So yeah, I drew firstly a pencil sketch based on the reference, just to understand the composition of the photo, because it looks very complicated. When we look at the photo, it looks very complicated, and like you're not sure where to start, and there's not a clear light. It was a very overcast day when I took the photo, so I knew when I took the photo, if I did a painting based on this photo, I would want to make the lighting more dramatic and not have everything very gray. And that's one of the things I show you how to do in the tutorial pack, as well as all my tutorial packs come with an ebook companion. So in the ebook, it will show you how to draw the thumbnails, a pencil thumbnail and a color thumbnail, like you see on the page above the final painting. So I used a flat brush in this stage. I'm blocking in all the colors, all the base colors from what I see in the reference photo. I started with the thing that's furthest away, the sky, using a very diluted thin cerulean blue mixed with some white. And then I blocked in the shape for the mountain. Table Mountain has got to be my favorite mountain in the whole world right now, and that's why I took so many reference photos of it, and I want to paint it a lot more, but it's very complicated to paint. So for this painting, I just simplified it and chose to just draw it using a darker cerulean blue than the sky, and just overlay it with the sky. And then I used for the rest of the blocking in stage, I just used a flat brush and blocked in the dark values for the shape, for the trees, sorry. What I'm doing now throughout the painting was just laying the base colors. One of the rules for landscape painting is the darkest value in a landscape is usually the trees, and the lightest value is usually the grass. So keeping that in mind, I just blocked in the darkest values of the trees and the foliage, and keeping it very saturated keeping it very unsaturated the further away the landscape is. And as it gets closer to the foreground, I don't desaturate. I just use a pure green. In this case, I use some spring green mixed with Hansa yellow medium, some cascade green, and a little bit of burnt sienna and yellow ochre. As I mentioned, I wanted to creatively interpret the reference and change the lighting up a bit. One of my favorite things to paint, I feel like it makes it a very inviting reference, a very inviting painting, is when the pathway is lit up halfway and in shadow halfway, and you get a little bit of scattered lighting on the pathway. So that's what I tried to paint here. I used some burnt sienna mixed with yellow ochre, and then I added a lot of Hansa yellow medium and titanium white. I painted the light areas of the pathway using that color, and I slowly transitioned that into the shadow area using burnt sienna and mixing a little bit of lavender into that. I imagine the focal point of this painting to be the tree on the left side, where we can see the entire tree, we can see the trunk, we can see the branches and some leaves. So I want to focus the brightest light on that tree and a little bit in that area of the pathway and the grass. And keeping this in mind the whole time, because it's not in the reference photo, it's important for me to have a thumbnail, a color thumbnail, to remind myself of that, and then use all of the thumbnails and the reference photo together as the references for the final painting. And what I did here, again, simplifying the mountain, not very complicated. After laying down the base cerulean blue of the mountain, I just added some highlights using Hansa yellow medium, a little bit of cerulean blue, and a lot of titanium white to bring up the value. And I just painted the slopes of those mountains that would be catching the light. It doesn't look exactly like Table Mountain like in the reference photo, but that was the entire point. I don't want to create an identical copy of the photo. I want to just steal a little bit of the composition and creatively interpret the photo into my own style. Then I switched to a round brush 0 from Kum, Germany. Actually, I think this is a round brush 2. I forget. I'm not 100% sure. Yes, it's a round brush 2. And I mix a little bit of burnt sienna and lavender together to get this gray-brown color, which is the perfect color to lay the base of the branches, after which I will start adding the highlights. I also used a smaller flat brush to block in bunches of leaves. So I first laid the darkest color using burnt sienna and ultramarine blue, and then I painted a lighter value of trees, branches and tree trunks. Then I painted a dark value of leaf bunches, and now I'm adding the highlights on tree branches that are catching the light, and a little bit on the bottom of the trunk. That's the focal point. I used some of the same highlight color, Hansa yellow medium, a little bit of yellow ochre and titanium white to highlight the bottom of the tree trunk and the pathway. And now what I'm doing is I'm just creating some texture in the trees and the foliage. From the photo, I'm just trying to see what are the common shapes that are in the foliage. I can see some crescent shapes, some dots for the flowers, some curving lines curving upwards. So I'm just trying to replicate that in a simple way and create texture within the different shades of green that I've laid out for the foliage. And then to create a little bit more depth, I went in with a really dark green using Cascade Green, burnt sienna and a little bit of ultramarine blue, and I painted some silhouettes of leaves and grass blades directly at the foreground, so that creates even more depth. And again, that's not in the reference photo, that's something from my imagination that I've seen other artists do in their landscape paintings, and I really enjoy that in a landscape painting. Then I started adding tiny details in the foreground. Another rule for landscape painting is that the foreground will have the most amount of detail in the background, the further away something is in the background in a landscape, the less detailed it looks. So I'm trying to remember that and create a lot of detail in the foreground by painting some white flowers. I use pure titanium white directly out of the tube for the flowers that catch the light in the light areas, and I added a little bit of lavender to that for the flowers that are in the shadow. Yeah, so that's how the painting is going, and you can get carried away trying to do more details. I certainly got carried away, but yeah, this is the final painting, and I hope you enjoyed this quick process of this study. And if you want to watch the full-time unedited process in tutorial form and know exactly which colors, which brushes I used, and further steps on how to draw the thumbnails, then check out my tutorial pack. It's on my website, and it's also part of a bundle with the previous tutorial pack that I made. I really hope you enjoyed this with my narration. I feel like I'm slowly getting a little bit better at narrating these videos. I also got a new mic, so I hope the quality is much better. With each new tutorial and with each new video, I learn how to upgrade my whole setup. So thank you for sticking along, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video.